Hey, Chris, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing good, Jim. Well, I'm busy. I'm up to
Well,
my
that's good.
eyeballs in projects. Yeah, no, I'd rather it's better than the alternative.
Yeah. No, that's why I wanted to talk to you, because you do the coolest stuff on the team, and we've worked together for a few years now, and you're an engineer on our team, and you build things. You're a hacker at heart. You're also a photographer, So yeah, so am I. So I like that. So I wanted to get your perspective on some of these things, particularly around what you do, why you do it, and how does that, how can we use some of that stuff as we build our, communities out? Because we're a developer relations team, right? You're the dev rebels, right? So you're the chief dev rebel. So tell me, just like open up and tell me about what are you doing right now?
Well, we have this Red Bull Racing Honda, I guess is their official name, and we're working with them. They had this idea a year ago. I wrote up this long paper for the chief marketing officer and described this harebrained concept because everything, this pandemic happened and everything changed overnight. And there were some ideas that I'd wanted to try. If you looked at the Pi cluster, we had that pretty successful video that went out. I wanted to do things that from physical conferences to a little bit more virtual anyway. So it was actually in a weird way, good timing. Wow. So I had talked about doing something with Formula One, doing something that's fast and that's exciting.
Exactly.
And I put out a blog recently about how to build a demo, 7 steps to how to build a demo. And that's kind of my, you can always have 8 or 9 steps, if you want, but that's how I boiled it down to building a demo, how I come at building these things. And one of the ways I come at it is it's from an idea, from kind of what we kind of how we want to grow it. But sometimes I start at the end, kind of what it is that I want to build. And I wanted to maybe sit in a Formula One car. So
yeah, it's like you and I were talking, it must have been like over a year ago, and you were talking about, racing, and you actually had some context in the racing community. I'm saying, oh, that is just too cool. Because I've been into the Indy 500 a few times, so I love Indy cars, and it's difficult to describe the speed of these cars, how they just rip through the air, and it's almost a violent experience, and the whole social thing around it. These are very sophisticated communities, not only from a fan perspective, but also the engineers and the developers around them, because the technology is so advanced, So I'm really, really great. I'm really happy that we're involved and that, you're involved with it.
Yeah, it what inspired it, it's you never know. Steve Jobs has that famous commencement speech at Stanford about you never know how you're going to connect the dots. I can go. You ask me, what inspires me in some of those kinds of things. It goes back to my Lego days. When I was 10 years old, playing with Legos, launching rockets, radio control planes. So a lot of this has gone back to the roots of that. Drones are obviously popular, but they're extremely difficult. So, remote control cars is a whole lot of fun, and it's kind of similar to, Formula One cars. So, how can we play with that? So we noodle with it, and how can we put a different spin on it? Do something that's fun, do something that's entertaining. And for me, it's how to do something that I've never done before. How can I push the limits? How can I play with Legos? For work. 10-year-old Chris giving current Chris a high five. I also look back. We were traveling as a family through Paris, and there was Formula E cars. It took me a while. I didn't notice that they were Formula E at first. I had to actually look it up, but it was Formula E. And then we were in Avignon, France, and wow. There was the 1960s roadshow of the Formula One cars, and so thinking about what to do, with maybe racing, and then I went back to that, so you think about you tie these things together, and remote control cars and stuff like that. It's like, well, what can I do tie Legos together and Oracle Cloud. So here you have my current project, what I'm working on. And there's a bunch of different pieces to it. So some of it I'm going to not talk about because that's future unveil the curtains.
Right. Well, we just put a video out on your current project. Is that what you're going to talk about now?
Okay. So that one, the first one, I actually was going to do a different video for that first one. It was going to show a little bit more, but I realized that when I start prototyping things, there's a breadboard and Raspberry Pi and Arduino or whatever we're using. It's a bunch of mess of wires, and when I go to move it around, it's inevitable that one wire shorts out and then fries a whole entire circuit or some board or something. So I was like, you know what, I need to take this back to the drawing board and make an actual custom prototype board for exactly what I'm doing. What's funny is the minute that I released that video and I started recording the next video, instantly I found a problem, and so the next video will start out with the new version of that prototype board.
Okay, cool.
It's not a big change. It's just the camera module. I didn't account for where I was going to plug that in because, it happens.
So you also said, this is going to be a series. That's what you said in the first video, and you're obviously working on the next one. So this is a series. How many can we expect, just roughly?
I'm hoping about 10, maybe 20.
Okay, I'll have to make a playlist then.
Yeah, it's going to be quite long. We I thought about doing, like one a month for like 6 months or something like that. Some of them, it'll depend. I have a list. I have an outline, but I'm not going to hold to that exact outline, and it kind of depends on some of the feedback as well. So I have a couple different versions of it of how I'm going to do this.
But this this brings up a good point. If you're going to do 10, it's a whole series. It's a very significant investment of your time and Oracle's. And this is what we do. This is a part of developer relations, and it's been a part of obviously the previous team that you and I were on. And in terms of conferences and creating experiences and demos and things like that, because they're just not little small things behind a laptop. You show up and you build massive computers, you build entire experiences. I'm not saying it's only you, there's other people on the team and stuff, but you were the lead of these projects. And so talk a little bit about some of the things you've done in the past, with the Super Pi, and how that leads up to what we're doing now on this new team.
Okay. So yeah, the world's largest Raspberry Pi cluster, and I'll put it in air quotes, that we know of.
Okay. And also that has almost 900,000 views on YouTube now.
Yeah. I did not expect the popularity of that. So it kind of here's kind of what happened with that. So we built the world's largest Raspberry Pi cluster. We were going to get the Guinness book to come out to Code 1, but this
is 2019, right?
2019, October 2019.
Yeah.
It was down to the wire of getting that thing working.
Really? Yeah.
Delusional. I mean, we try to think of all the possible problems that we're going to have, all the different things, from every angle, especially the technical challenges of things that we haven't been able to get going. Oh yeah, sure. We can net boot, 1,024 Raspberry Pis. It turns out that different TFTP servers, have different response rates. Get there's a bug in the Raspberry Pi firmware for booting, and they don't check out a DHCP, dynamic IP address correctly. So they go ask for it, but they don't actually do the checkout process properly. So your TFTP server, just falls over or hands out the same IP address to every single Pi, or randomly, which is even harder to diagnose. Wow. So we had. And I had initially, I tried to set up with Oracle Linux. I don't know Oracle Linux that well, so I know Ubuntu and Raspbian better. So I set up the Pi cluster with that. But we have the Oracle Linux team, so I talked to them, and in parallel, they put an engineer on it, which was awesome, and he got everything working, and it without Oracle Linux, this isn't a plug. This is just, without Oracle Linux, it would not have happened. And that's one thing, working for a large company like Oracle, there's resources around the company.
Yeah, there's thousands of engineers just all over the place, right? So,
right. And if I can inspire them too, then it ties these teams together, which is fun. And
I remember some of those conversations actually, because they got really excited about this. And so, I mean, other teams as well, and when this thing was finally done, everyone was excited about it. But I was obviously involved in the same conference, but I was, doing other stuff. I didn't know the size of this thing. I was in meetings, I heard about it, but yeah, whatever, it's a computer, it's like, I didn't, but when we were setting up in Moscone, I was setting up my streaming stage, which was right behind you, right?
Yeah.
And we had all kinds of audio and video issues and lighting issues, and we were, hacking those things to get those things to work. And you used to roll this thing in a forklift, beep, beep, beep. Here it is. It's like, is that Chris's thing? I just, made a little pie. And it's just massive, and everyone comes around. And I said, oh, wow, that's what he's been doing.
Yeah,
that's what... I did a presentation recently on building community, and one of the things I said is when you go to conferences and you're going to be building experiences and demos and stuff, is to think big. And I used you as an example for that.
Yeah, no, we definitely thought big. There was Jared Wenzel and Stephen Chin. We all had kind of brainstormed it. I think it was the previous year, Code One. Stephen came up to me and he said, "Oh, Gerald has an idea," and Gerald's like, yeah, and that's how he said it. He kind of points, and he says, Gerald has an idea. And Gerald comes up to me and he's like, 1,000 Raspberry Pi. And I turned to him and I just said, no. And he's like, what do you mean no? And I said, nah, 1,024.
So that's a very important number.
Yeah, and actually there was 1,050 in it, because the way the number of pies that we had on a rack, there was 21 pi on a rack, and there was four full racks. Module was 2 racks of 21 pi with a network. Anyway, it's all outlined on my blog, where I kind of detailed everything as we went through it, the thinking processes as well as the problems. But Gerald originally wanted it in pieces. Like we could split it apart into smaller pies to travel and then come together as one. So we have all these brainstorming, and then when I was looking at it, I was like, this just isn't going to work as different pieces, because you can have 255 devices on one standard home networking thing, and a network, and I realized, boy, this is a Class B network that we needed. This is actual, business level kind of network that we need to set up. So we went with Ubiquiti. They were really good products. I'm not a plug for them, but I've had my own set of problems with them. It's just, I didn't want to go with Cisco and to do all the command line stuff. And then we needed to put it in something. And so we had a lot of brainstorming what to put it in. And the initial renderings was a TARDIS from Doctor Who, because you got to make it look cool. Oh, wow. And it needs to be bigger on the inside. So you can imagine how the executive meetings went with that. With, what do you want to build? Oh, a TARDIS. So you got to make it fun. It's got to showcase what you're trying to do and do it well. And you mentioned the community. We got Gluon team involved there. Johan and Jose are very big in the Java community, Java champions and all that. Everyone knows them. And so we got their team, because I didn't have time to write all the software. So I kind of managed that, and then they ended up bringing in other people, and it became a community kind of driven piece of software that we were running on the Pi. Because the first thing is everyone asks you what you're running on the Pi cluster. So we had their software running on that was just a community driven thing. It would add numbers or something like that. It wasn't terribly exciting as far as that, because they didn't have a lot of time to work with what we had. But after that, we tried to ship the giant Pi cluster to London. We were going to do a road tour, and it was very expensive. I
can't imagine why. I mean, well, I'll put it.
Well, we had a conversation because I can't remember the name of the building in London where we had open world there, but they wanted to have it on the third floor, fourth floor, somewhere up, not down on the main floor. And there wasn't enough power.
Yeah, sure.
The whole thing pulls about 160 amps when fully turned on. So that's essentially a full house, normal house, or at least American. I don't know what other. It's about be similar, depending on voltage and stuff. But it's basically a whole house of power, and they couldn't run the power to that third floor. So we talked about having it on the first floor, and that was still going to be pretty difficult. At Moscone in San Francisco, that was pretty easy for them to do there for some reason. But we looked at doing the road tour and the other events, the smaller events, they couldn't do it. So then I built an 84 Pi Raspberry Pi cluster, and that was much more portable.
Yeah, I've seen images of that. I haven't seen it working because then the pandemic happened and we were all shut down, right?
It shipped to London. It did.
Oh, it did
one. Yeah, we had it there,
okay.
And instead of the open source community project, I was running SETI at home, searching for aliens.
Oh, okay.
And then it had to ship home, and we actually had parts enough to build another one, and so I built a second mini 84 Pi cluster, and that's another video that I think that's uploaded.
The one I'm thinking of. Okay, I'm thinking of the second one. So I guess I just missed the first one. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so that got a lot of attention at the event. It got a lot of attention after the event on social and things like that, and people were really, really interested in that. And so now we have a whole new situation. We're on a new team, and you're still building. You got a new project that you're working on. So in general, what types of technologies are you focusing on to build your stuff? Is there a certain emphasis? The cloud obviously seems to be the center of everything these days, but is there anything else that you focus on that for any particular reason? Java, Linux, whatever.
There's kind of a couple things that I focus on. So obviously, we have Java and Oracle Cloud. Those with Oracle Cloud, you have how do I put this? You have every app, any phone app, any connected device, whether it be IoT or edge, needs cloud services. And so I like physical things. And if they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a video is worth 1,000 pictures, and then you can see it, but then you add sound to it, and it hits more senses.
Right.
And then if you have a physical thing, then that's even more, especially if you can walk around it. I mean, you could have augmented reality, and that's something that we've been dabbling with as well, and we will continue to dabble with. But not everybody has the hardware for augmented reality. And so we can do videos, in this virtual world pretty easily, compared to augmented reality and virtual reality. And so yeah, I like these internet connected devices, edge devices. And so I try to figure out how to connect these to ordinary things. I like 3D printed stuff. And so, behind the scenes, you want to power this all with some sort of, device and software and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that got me this job was our neighborhood is pretty big in Halloween, and we kind of raised the bar a few times. I had a bunch of cardboard from various things that we bought one year, giant pieces of cardboard. And I was like, what are you going to do with this? And I thought, well, Halloween's in a month, so I'm going to build the Star Wars Cantina in the garage. So, you can imagine how this progressed. And a few years into this, I spent like 6 months building Harry Potter. And I had pictures, pictures that moved. I had pictures that with a studio inside that was doing basically FaceTime to another studio inside, so you could talk to people out in the garage. I had wands with accelerometers and little Arduinos in them, so that with infrared transmitters. So it was basically a remote control, but hooked up to running TensorFlow on the Arduino. It was just, well, I was using I had to send the data to another computer to do anyway, it's a long, I should have used a Teensy. They have a lot more power on them, but I couldn't quite fit it in the wand. I could have if I 3D printed it a little bit bigger, but anyway, I'm getting off in the weeds. I could make magic out of electronics devices and stuff. And so that was seen as, hey, here's some experiences, what is not too dissimilar from a conference with what we do at the hub, and then we kind of step it up a level with the code card, and no one ever saw the code watch. The code watch.
You were working on he was working on a watch. That's right. You guys were working on a watch, but the code card was very, very popular. Hundreds of people. And in fact, that was, that actually did ship around to other events.
That did go around the world. That
was around the world. And in terms of the hub, in terms of like the developer, hub, at the various events, that thing always had hundreds of people.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Very hands-on experience. Was hoping that the watch would be a similar thing, but we ran into the pandemic and various. Now I've tried to reboot it, sort of. We don't have quite the physical events, but have some ideas how we could, you come to a conference or sign up or for a lab or something like that, and we ship you a code watch. Maybe put in the comments if you like that idea. Right. But there's supply issues, so we can't get all the electronics for it now. So it's a different world. So. Yeah. So
you mentioned earlier, with the Pi supercluster, Gerald and Stephen, let's just go do this. There's a certain mentality, and you're that way as well. You come up with an idea, nothing stops you guys. You actually go and try and do it. That's very, very attractive. To me, those types of people, they're hackers at heart. And they build things, and that's what I'm really interested in. So, but now we have a different situation. Now we're sort of, in this emerging, I guess, from 2020. We're still in 2020.
Hybrid world.
Yes, exactly. Sooner or later, we'll get out there again. I know you can't talk about everything you're working on now, but you've got a series of videos that are coming out on some current projects. Talk a little bit why this is important for building communities, because we're in developer relations. We have a big team now, and under Guillermo, there's lots of really cool people on this team, and they're doing a lot of really interesting things. It's a very diverse team as well, and growing, but this concept of building things so developers can get hands-on experience, like at Hackfests and conferences and things like that. Why is that important in your mind?
Well, there's obvious marketing reasons why you could look at that and go, this is a good approach. And I to be honest, I'm sure that someone's thinking of that. For me, it's about talking with the individual developers. It's about making that connection. Obviously growing the community is great. And it's nice when I can give back to existing communities of things that I've used over the years, whether it's Java, JavaScript, Python, Graal, there's Micronaut, there's tons of Kubernetes. I can name all the top technologies, all the different things out there that's nice to contribute, nice to give a neat demo, example of how to use it. And I mentioned earlier, I like to build things. So a lot of, you watch like YouTubers, right? These people that build things, there's quite a few of them out there. Some of them have various different success or levels of what they build, and some of them are real and some of them are faked. It's movie magic, and I don't do anything that's faked. And so I have failures. And that's part of what I'm trying to show here. There will be failures, and there's going to be a lot of people. Like, what's gotten me through the pandemic has been Adam Savage, his tested YouTube channel, and I don't know that I'm the kind of personality that could just record myself for, I don't have the shop space like he does. That's a character in his own little movie. I don't quite have that, but even if I was, I'm not the TV presence that he is. I in one way, shape, or form, I could dream to do that, but he has all these little nuances to doing model making and stuff. Now, he's not doing any software in his things, and so my stuff's, the stuff I do is different, but it's not fake. What he's making isn't. I mean, it might be a movie prop kind of fake, but it's something that you can physically handhold and look at, and you could reproduce if you want. And so that's kind of the goal is to make these things and put the plans available, whatever it is, so that people can do it themselves, inspire people. And by doing that and coming up with real world things. So it's one thing to do an example on Oracle Cloud that uses Spark and Kubernetes, then there's Docker images and, whatever programming language you're going to use. I don't really care. You ask me what programming language I use. I use whatever is best for, tool for the job. Some cases it's JavaScript. I'm not just be honest, it's not my favorite language. I don't want to get into a debate over VI versus Emacs though, but everyone loves their little debate over programming languages and curly braces or no curly braces or whatever. Those are fun. Those are always fun over a beer or something. But we, so we want to put these things out there to inspire developers to build real things. So you can build these demos, like I said, with Kubernetes or Spark or whatever it is that's okay. Here's a white paper on building this thing. But Todd Sharp, for example, he had a paper the other day for the it was a second version, I think, that he had of running a Minecraft server on the ARM processors that we have, and it's a whole lot faster than the free tier, for the Intel processors, and that's a real world thing. People want to run a Minecraft server. And you can do that. That's real. That article has real value for people, and that's what I want to provide. I want to, like Adam Savage. It's a real thing. I mean, okay, maybe he's making, the gun from the Mandalorian or something like that. But if that's what inspires people, people look at movies, science fiction or Harry Potter, whatever it is, and these are things that inspire people. And for a lot of people, that's what gets them out of bed. That's what, jobs are mundane. Let's just face it. And so what's the exciting part is you're trading your time to do your day job. And in the evenings, you're going to go hack, right? You're going to go make something. You're going to go launch a rocket. You're going to do an RC car. You're going to, maybe you like to travel, which you can't do right now. So right now during the pandemic, people are looking to other forms of entertainment. Some look to TV, and hopefully, maybe my videos will be part of that and entertain them. I think the number of hours I looked at the MiniPy cluster, because I posted that on my personal YouTube channel, because I couldn't. It was the way our management structure at the time. I couldn't get it over to get on the developer Oracle developers, and there was 25,000 hours, I think. It's just mesmerizing. I mean, I caused 25,000 hours worth of wasted people's times, no, it's not a waste, but I entertained that many people that it's like, wow. I mean, I never wanted.
That shows the influence, right?
Right. I never wanted to be, that, but it's fun, so you can build things in your own closet and do it yourself, or, you can spend a lot more time, because it's a lot more time to record it and put it on YouTube. Yeah. But it's about sharing. It's about the community, and this has been a hard year for makers. There's
Right.
the makers fairs, and those have been closed down kind of even before the whole lockdown. Sharing these physical things, unless even if you're in masks and stuff, the events haven't happened. So, it has to turn to online or smaller user groups maybe, but it's all on Zoom. It's all like this, and so. That's what I've kind of turned to, and going to do more of that. We did that with the Pi cluster videos, the various Pi cluster videos, and it's about sharing. So to answer your question, I think more succinctly, because I've kind of monologued here, it's about inspiring people. It's about sharing. It's about giving back. It's about, obviously there's Oracle Cloud in there. We want to do the tie-ins to it, but I want people to find real world reasons, to do that kind of stuff, and to have reasons to dabble with different technologies, not just Oracle technologies, but any of them, because then that boring, mundane day job that is, hopefully it's not boring. I mean, I was just joking. But now you learn something
right.
in your free time, because we're all trying to learn. If there's any software engineer says that they don't program in their free time, don't hire
done.
them.
Yeah,
they're not
done.
Yeah.
I mean, how quickly would you fall behind? I mean, if you're not always hacking on something.
You have to, and you might not do it 24/7, or sorry, every evening. You got a family, you got to eat and all that kind of stuff. But it's you got to have side projects, and it's about toying with things, learning stuff. Whether it's an official class or just something that you're doing in your free time. Just trying to add electronics to a Lego car. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building Formula One Lego cars. Okay. So you'll see that soon.
Excellent. So since you're involved in this Formula One project that we're doing, maybe, toward the end of the season, you get us some tickets to one of the races.
I heard that we might have some to raffle off, but I can't make any promises, but I'm pretty excited. I hope I get to go.
You would make more sense.
He called me up the other day and he's all, "Oh, I got something for you. You're going to be," it almost gave me a heart attack. Like what he told me. I was like,
yeah. So getting to the race is like, it's, as I said before, it's hard to describe. It really is hard to describe what those cars can do, unless you see it. And even if you're not into cars, you can really appreciate. They're just beautiful pieces of technology.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and they go to 0 to 60 in nothing.
Yeah.
And I've been in a couple fast cars. A Corvette once. That seemed fast, but I think 0 to 60 was 4 or 5 seconds. I mean, now you can get that in a Ford pickup with the new Lightning, the electric one. So that's world's changing. Electric cars are here, but it's amazing what they're doing with the Formula One cars, and that technology has come down into our gas cars, which is quite amazing. Yeah. So yeah, can't wait.
Chris, let's leave it there. Let's get out of here. Anything else going on that we need to know about?
Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm working on it now. It kind of got delayed, but you have that normal day job stuff that kind of gets in the way, and it takes more time than you anticipate. Always does. So, yeah. But soon you'll see the episode 2.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.